for the pledge, please. Ben, if you lead us. Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, everybody's here. The record show, everybody's in attendance.
On time.
On time, yeah. Special presentations, do we have something going here? Negatory, huh? All right, I like that. All right, I'm entertaining a motion for approval of the minutes from the last meeting, November. We have a motion.
I'll motion that.
Okay, Ben, have a second?
I'll second.
Robert, second. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Oral communications, we got any communicators, okay? Ray Short, you got the podium, Ray.
I've come down here today. I'm a long-time resident of the Sand Committee. I've been playing golf ever since I moved here, which is a long time ago. And for the past 25 years, there's been a lot of tee times on Wednesday for the Exchange Club. They're not raising money. There's nothing there that says that they should be getting tee times when we've got hundreds of tax-paying residents trying to get tee times. And this has got to change. There's no way they can keep those tee times. Now, I question you, why are they doing it?
Well, I could discuss it with you afterwards, but it's not on the agenda, so I can't address it.
I'm sorry?
It's not on the agenda, so I can't address it. Talk to me afterwards.
Well, I just put it on the agenda.
No, you're under oral communication. It has to be on the agenda, right?
So I guess I have to go to the city council then.
Well, no, well, you have to get it on their agenda as well.
Correct.
Yeah. That would be the way to do it if you want to address that situation.
You bet.
Okay. Thanks for your input.
See ya.
Bill Chapman.
Yeah, I've been a resident with my family for 10 years in San Clemente. Just took up golf a couple years ago when I found I couldn't surf anymore like I used to.
Oh.
But I just wanted to thank everybody, whoever's involved in this golf course in San Clemente. It's unbelievable. I go around and the fees everywhere else are $200-300 or more. We have ocean views, well kept. You know, the maintenance crews are great here. Love the practice area. You got grass. I could go on and on, but I know you got more important business to do, but I just want to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate your input on that, but shh, don't tell everybody about it.
Good point.
That's all we got, oral communications. Got old business?
You do. We have two old business items. The first one you will hear this evening is a review and hopefully a final consideration before passing along a recommendation to council of the comprehensive master plan update for the golf course. We do have Andy Staples Golf as well as THK. Dan Conway and Ned are on Zoom with us this evening. Just to reiterate this evening that you have established a subcommittee. Your subcommittee has looked over this document and they've gone back and forth with the Staples team regarding the course layout, and there's been modifications through that process. So our goal tonight is to receive final feedback to the committee and go to City Council from here. If the plan is not fully finished in the committee's eyes, we can talk about some pathways to get there. But in order to continue this process and get it through the finish line, we'd like to see some level of recommendation come out of the committee this evening. With that, I'm going to turn it over to THK first, I believe, and it's Staples Golf. And they're not going to go too deep into the weeds. They're going to try to keep at a high level of what's been changed and modified based on previous feedback. Do we have Dan or Ned? Are you guys ready to go?
Maybe not.
It was working before.
Give us 1 second.
Andy was there talking, but
There they are.
Does that sound okay?
We can hear you, Andy. Yes, thank you. Hang on, we're just trying to get you on our screens.
More volume.
that's cool.
Just let me know when you're ready to start.
Thank you.
He's got it.
You should be able to talk now.
You should be.
We can hear him, we just don't see it on the monitors.
What's on the one behind you?
I know it's not on that one though.
Yeah, no, that screen looks like it's off.
Oh.
There we go.
Can you guys see those out there? All right, there we go. Committee ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Andy, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Samantha. Thanks to the Golf Course Committee for giving us the time. We were hired well over a year ago, so this has been a long time coming, so we're really excited to hopefully have some consensus and some conclusion. When we were first interviewed, we promised that we'd put together a plan that was forward-thinking, that addressed your infrastructure needs. Yes, it's a popular golf course, but that doesn't mean that a golf course doesn't need to be cared to and invested in. If nothing else, there's new irrigation technology for water efficiency. There's new equipment out there for better, more efficient maintenance. There's better technology to build bunkers and greens that give better conditions at the same or even less cost. So we also listened to the committee, or the committee and the public. So there was plenty of input on this plan. We've adjusted. So I think we've been very flexible. And I would be honest with you, I went back and reviewed the final report, and I'm really proud of what we put together. It's comprehensive, very detailed. You know what? There may not be, every single question may not have been answered about specific bunker locations and things like that. Any good master plan will evolve through the construction, but I just wanted to open up by saying I'm proud of what THK and our team and Josh and I put together here. I hope you all are proud. And I'll finish that there's a trend that's happening through the entire country right now that is placing a bit of an attack, if you will, on public facilities. And it's these types of golf course facilities that are open to the public, that are reasonably priced, are very, very valuable, and they're key to the golf industry. And I think what we've tried to do is create a plan that you all can be proud of, that is as close to 100% consensus as we can get, and it's based on really good economics. I think you're going to get that from THK. So I'm going to let Josh from my office cruise through a couple of our summary slides, but I just can't tell you enough how proud I am of this plan, and I hope you all feel the same way when you're done listening to it. So thank you. Thanks for the time. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, Andy, and thank everyone on the committee for all their time. Samantha, working with us in THK to get this to this point. As Andy said, I think we're all really excited with where we're at. So I'm going to try to make our part pretty quick here and get to THK. I think a lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to be a bit of a refresher. Those reports have been out, I think, since the middle of November, so I'm hoping everyone had a chance to review those. But I wanted to start out just with where we are in the process. So, as Andy said, it's been a little over a year since we first started back in May 2024. And we've gone through the facilities assessment to kick off, got into our initial town hall presentation where we got some good public feedback on the initial design directions. We went through a whole process of conceptual design review last year, got some final consensus on some of that with our subcommittee and the committee feedback this last year. And so today we're here to just present the final stage of all that entire process and the culmination that is in that report that was sent out in November. So in this presentation today, I think we're just going to give a really brief summary of all the master plan items that were in the report, talk a little bit about the budget and schedule recommendations that were at the end of that master plan report, and then I want to give it over to Ned and Dan to just go over the updated financial findings. There's a few changes since the last time, some more detail on the range, the practice facilities, some of the food and beverage, so they'll get a little more into that detail, and then we can talk about some of the next steps from there. So these were the two documents. Again, hopefully you all had a chance to review them, read them. The one on the left, a little more overview, some of the goals and objectives of the master plan, detailing out the budget, and then the hole-by-hole analysis was more detailed on design, so some hole-by-hole recommendations based on the goals and objectives we set forth. So that first document, the priorities we came up with and we've been carrying through this entire process, no particular order, but the 5 most important things we decided were important to the future success of the golf course at San Clemente. Number 1, irrigation system. Everybody can kind of tell that that's outdated. There's been continual struggle with the superintendent and how to manage that. It's just an old system. It's 30 plus years old at this point. So if nothing else, the entire infrastructure that does need to be replaced at some point in the near future. We also talked about bunkers, and again, everything has kind of a lifespan. The bunkers are also approaching close to 20 to 30 years old in a lot of cases. And so there's just a need, and there's, as Andy said, there's some better technology, some new liner and drainage specs that really help with the longevity of those, help with the playability, the overall conditioning on a day-to-day basis. So there's some recommendations around the bunkers and getting those renovated. Then we talked a little bit about social spaces, how to make some more golfer-friendly spaces on the site, knowing there's some competition with weddings and events in the clubhouse, and a huge potential to expand, both indoor and outdoor, providing some more opportunity for golfers to spend more time on the course, enjoy some post-round camaraderie, and take advantage of some of those spaces and the great site that you guys have. In a similar vein, the range and the practice facilities were, right now everybody kind of tell the range is just not quite long enough. The netting's not quite high enough, so there's some infrastructure issues on the range. And then in terms of practice opportunities, you really have just the one little chipping green tucked back by the parking lot, the small 2,500 square foot putting green in the front that's not really reflective of your current course conditions. So we talked through some opportunities on to improve that, and I'll show the plan on that in a little bit. And then finally, just the maintenance equipment. There's a desire to go towards an electric fleet, so we gave some pricing and some options on that, just some general recommendations that can help you guide looking into the acquisition and potentially doing a lease option instead of owning all that equipment going forward. And then there was a list of secondary priorities, so I won't spend too much time on these. We'll hit some design highlights as we go through, but we talked a lot about greens, renovations, the potential to expand some of those surfaces, the quality of the tees, the yardages, finding a great equitable balance between all the teeing options. We talked about some errant shots on a few holes and addressed some of those. I won't spend much time on that today, but the report gives a good summary on the holes we tackled and tried to address in that master plan. There's an alternate design for the 15th hole up in the back corner of the property that takes advantage of a great view of the Pacific Ocean and allows for a maintenance break on the rotation of your par 3s. That was a goal that the superintendent before really had stressed needing just a way to keep those greens, especially on the par 3s, reduce the traffic, and get a little more dispersion of that traffic throughout rounds. Then just general drainage improvements and cart path adjustments, things that almost every plan has to just take the course to the next level. So just a couple quick examples. Here's an example of some bunker liner technology. This is a project we did here at Fire Rock Country Club in Arizona. New liner drainage stand specs, And here's some more examples of the character with sand in it, how that's finished. This one's at Mesa Country Club. So we'd be looking to do something similar with your guys' course. Outdoor social spaces, this is an example of one at Papago Golf Club here in Phoenix as well. Just getting more use, especially the indoor-outdoor connection. I think we talked there's a great potential if we can relocate that putting green in the front of the clubhouse and also expand some of the areas in the back of the clubhouse, getting more space for golfers to use pre, post round, and taking advantage of some of the property around the clubhouse there. We also talked about the range in practice, so this is an example from Dobson Ranch here in Mesa, Arizona. Making this an entertainment space, not just a place to warm up, hit some balls, but really a place people can come, gather, mingle after rounds, after hours. Essentially, some lighting options that we spec'd and got some budgeting on. And that's what this space looks like here. So getting the practice chipping green and putting green, getting those options closer to the range. We even explore the opportunity for a double-decker range to get some more space. I think the current plan here, if it was one deck, has about 18 spaces, which is 3 more than you currently have. If you went double-decker, you'd obviously double that. So there's some opportunity there. Obviously, that comes with a cost, but we had THK run some numbers on that, and things look pretty positive, whether it's single or double-deck, that there's a good return on the investment there. Talking about the range floor, this is back at Papago here in Phoenix, but just the experience of the practice on the range, shaping some targets in, getting some wedge range targets, target bunkers, things that really help stimulate the conditions you see on the course during a round. Looking at green expansion, so again, I think our report gave 4 different potential options. We had obviously recommend rebuilding these entirely if at all possible. We understand there's a cost with that. It's not, our studies showed it's a concern, but not the most dire concern potentially on the course. But overall, I think the goal with this, whenever it gets done, would be trying to expand those, and our proposal is about 1,500 square feet on average. You can keep a lot of the same character of your greens, expand around the edges, get some of that extra space to disperse traffic, get some extra pin locations, and really add some strategy to these greens too. Seating equity and yardages, so we have a guideline with our seating equity that we like to use a swing speed breakdown to determine how far those carry distances are from each tee, where the hazards are placed, making sure that experience is as equitable as possible for all skill levels of golfer. And as we did that assessment, we determined that at 75 miles per hour, you really don't have an option on your course right now. So we worked with the subcommittee and the committee. We looked through some different options, looked at courses around the area. We determined right around that 5,100 yard range was really the yardage you guys were missing. So our plan addresses that, put some tees out there that get a yardage on the scorecard for that swing speed of golfer, which is usually the ladies, some of the seniors, beginner golfers, and it's really an important piece of the equity of your course. And then finally, I want to end on looking over the All-Terrain 15th hole. This is the view from behind the 15th green looking towards 16, so not the exact angle that hole is down. It actually sit a little more to the right of where this picture is taken, but that would be a very similar view. And the idea there, again, is to get an option to rotate those par 3s out, ease some of the maintenance burden, and really create an awesome, cool drop shot hole that I think everyone's going to really love when it's in there. And there's a plan view of that hole with some of the yardages. So I know I went through that pretty fast, but again, a lot of that's more detailed in that master plan report, and it all kind of culminates into this budget that was at the very end of that document. So you can see on the left, that was kind of the breakdown we used to determine some of the ranges of these costs. Obviously, it's hard to pin down. It takes a little more coordination with contractors, irrigation specialists, different consultants to get some of these numbers nailed down, but we're pretty confident in the range. We've done a lot of these budgets over the years. And so we're hoping this is kind of a blueprint for you guys going forward to determine what is your priorities, what's feasible to tackle with the budget, and THK is going to use some of these numbers to, we can compare with their findings, really determine what a feasible range for your budget going forward is. As I said, I don't want to say this is exactly a menu, but definitely as you think about your priorities, use this to kind of guide, the rough range of those costs, determine what's feasible up front, and tackle it kind of piece by piece. And so with that, here's some implementation recommendations based on the schedule. So I think first and foremost, again, use the revenue projections, the financial studies to determine the priorities and the scope of that first kind of phase of project. So ideally that's irrigation, bunkers, social spaces range, getting the maintenance fleet taken care of, And then it's what else can be on top of that. So looking at tees, I think we're talked about as a really important piece, potentially the green expansions, just considering some of those added options that you can put on top of those priorities. So again, the irrigation system really should drive the schedule for everything. It's going to be the heartbeat of your golf course. It's the most important piece in ensuring good conditions going forward in the future sustainability of your course. And really, once that irrigation system is in place, it's really hard to adjust, or at least more difficult and expensive to adjust some of those other features. So, you know, it's ideal to get tees, bunkers, and greens in a pretty accurate location with that irrigation system to ensure you're not double doing work if you come back and do some of that later. If you can do it all at once, it's a huge plus and it saves a lot of money going forward. I think our recommendation as far as phasing would be try to do this all at once, either 18 holes or 9 holes at a time. We understand there's a lot of play out there and that, you know, any disruption to play is not ideal for anyone. But at the same time, we've done a lot of these projects and really in terms of efficiency of getting things through, not having golfers deal with disruption, hopping holes, you know, a lot of the disruption you get when you start tearing a place apart, putting irrigation across the entire thing, really just leads to a more efficient process, minimize the disruption, and saves a lot of money. You know, there's obviously if you keep the course open, there's labor and operational costs that are all associated with that. So it really doesn't save a ton of money keeping that course open and playable. It might make a few golfers happy, but I think the final product and the unveiling of a final product after a full closure and getting it right for the first time is really important too. And then finally, I think this is really the most important, kind of the takeaway of our entire report is, you know, there's a lot of information in the master plan. We've done a lot of research into it. THK's done a lot of research, but I think there's still a need to go out and engage some other consultants, especially irrigation designers, you know, potentially landscape architects, range netting engineers, all these additional consultants to start to solidify these budgets and help you, you know, further determine what's feasible with your course. So I think, if anything, that's really the next step we push for on the side of the golf course design. And with that, I think that's the last slide I have. If there's any questions, otherwise I can hand it over to THK.
That's great, Josh. Thank you very much. And I'm Dan Conway. I'm the president of THK Associates, and I've got Ned Proctor here with me. He's our lead senior market analyst. We were contracted to do the market analysis and financial review, and we continued to update that over the last 12 to 18 months that we've been working with your community there. Next slide. The San Clemente golf market is a very interesting market. It's performing extremely well. Our study substantiated that about 9 holes of additional golf is needed in the market area, and by the year 2035, about 23 or 24 more golf holes are going to be needed to adequately service the market. The market's extremely strong, and there's tremendous loyalty and patronage at the various golf courses that we studied in the primary trade area. There's a mix of high-end daily fee golf courses and mid-range public and municipal golf courses. The San Clemente golf course is very affordable priced in that mid-range golf market. And the municipal golf course at San Clemente is capturing more than its expected generic capture rate. It outperforms what we would think would be the capture rate that it should be able to sustain, and that's quite a statement for the quality of the product that you're offering in the market. The golf course is operating at virtual capacity, if not over capacity, but it needs some upgrades to maintain that market share. Next slide. The golf course is performing very well. Right now, the average green fee that's received is about $28 per round, and the total expenditure is about $49 per round at the golf course. All the expenses are very reasonable and in line with the market norms. The net operating income today is over $1 million per year. And given that income, we would estimate the value of the San Clemente Golf Course based upon that received net operating income is about $16.1 million. Next slide. THK feels that 10% to 15% of the increase in standard rates is justified, so we would keep the senior and the junior rates the same as they are today. New green fees have been approved, and with some of those increases, we think that the revenue will increase by about $20 to $22 per round. We think private courses should continue to be allowed on the golf course. We would upgrade the quality and condition of the driving range and introduce top tracer and TrackMan technology. We would recommend that at the end of the current Dave Cook contract, that an RFP should be put out to bid, and THK recommends that the language in any new concession or pro shop lease should include guidelines for customer service and operational issues for better and more consistent customer experience. The city should consider taking over the control and operation of the starter tee sheet operation and green fee tracks transactions as well as the driving range. There's tremendous potential opportunity to develop a new outdoor dining patio facility. And we would encourage better connectivity between the snack bar and driving range with a new social space, upgraded snack bar and seating, and some sort of dedicated cart path lanes to be implemented for safety and ease of congestion. Seating next to the range bay would increase usage and the length of stay at the range. Next slide. With our THK recommended green fees, the projected next 10 years, we think that the revenue would, today we're expecting revenue of about $2.5 million. We think that would increase to about $2.8 million. As a result of our green fee recommendations of $5 to $7 per round, the increased revenue would be about $400,000 in the first year, and by the 10th year, it would be up over $530,000 as a result of our recommended green fees. Regarding our next slide, regarding our recommended range improvement, which would include the top tracer and TrackMan technology, the better connectivity, the seating area. The range revenue would increase from today. We think next year it should accomplish about $226,000. It would increase to about $365,000. So these improvements would add about $140,000 in year one and virtually double by the 10th year. The increased revenues would amount to about $300,000 per year from the range improvements that we're suggesting. As a result of this, we looked at the total projected pro forma. What would happen as a result of the improvements that we're suggesting. We think the net operating income, which is today at about $1 million, it would grow to about $1.4 million in the first year, and we'd have increased revenue of about $500,000 per year. By the 10th year, that net operating income would increase by about $658,000 per year. And these improvements would take the value of the golf course from $16.1 million, which is our today estimate, up to about $24 million. And so there would be an increase in the facility value of about $8 million as a result of these recommended improvements. In conclusion, we think the revenue growth will come from the yield per round rather than increased round play. The capital investment is required to protect the current capacity of round play. The master plan is a long-range phased framework over 3 to 5 years. However, no single funding decision for capital improvement is being made now. The plan's intent is to restore and safeguard the historic features of the Bell era design and aesthetics while modernizing the structure of the golf course, including upgraded cart paths, tee boxes, bunkers, greens, and implementing enhancements, particularly the driving drains, preserves the original course routing. It should be noted, finally, that the valuation and cash flow modeling are analytical tools only and were developed to highlight the increased revenue, income, and overall facility value that can be achieved, and they do not imply any intent to sell or monetize the property. That's a quick summary of our findings, and we're here to answer any questions that your group may have.
Hi, I have a question. The top tracer and track technology that you're suggesting, my understanding is that's really a different customer than the customer that goes to a regular driving range. So if we implemented the top tracer, I'm not sure the same customers using the driving range now would use the top tracer, and I'm not sure how many customers we have out there who want the top tracer. Do you have any figures on why you think people would come and play with the top tracer here at San Clemente?
Andy, you and I were talking about that. Why don't you respond to that question?
Yeah, sure. So the National Golf Foundation just recently put out a study on what they call off golf or non-grass, something other than a golf course revenue around the country. It's currently at around 1 billion with a B, and they're expecting it to go over 4 billion over the next 10 years. And so I would challenge the discussion of whether or not your golfers would actually use this. What we found is that they just didn't know it existed, and they don't know that it really is anything that's available to them because they've quite frankly never seen it. So I'm a very avid golfer. I would be one if I lived in San Clemente. I'd be playing at San Clemente Golf Course all the time. And if they had top tracer, I would be on that top tracer all the time. And to be honest with you, I'd probably be on the top tracer when I knew I couldn't get a tee time at your golf course. So there are figures that are not only suggesting that the golfers that are at your golf course will like this and use this technology. And then probably even more importantly, it's going to reach out to people that don't necessarily play golf or don't necessarily feel comfortable on the golf course. This is a learning tool. It's a fun engagement with the game, and it happens at the range. So
well, I
yeah,
know
so that's right.
I know that Shorecliffs have the top tracer, and do you have any figures on people that use it there?
I don't have that one. I worked with the County of San Luis Obispo where we put in 10 stalls. They put top tracer with a covered bay, and my understanding is they paid for the entire system in 1.5 years. They put it out for tee times. You have to book it 7 days in advance, and when the tee times come available, they book up in 1 day. And so that's one experience in the state of California. I could go down to the Dobson Ranch in Mesa, Arizona. If you use the economics that Dobson Ranch is using with their top tracer technology, Dan's estimates for revenue are way low. I mean, they're over $1 million in just their range. They have a lot more stalls than 18. That's why I would recommend trying to go to double-decker to get 36 stalls. But I've yet to find a top tracer. Of course, I've not seen them all, so I'm sure there might be some that there's some exceptions to the rule. But Top Tracer is incredibly popular and very, very, very successful from a return on investment.
I'd like to add something to this. So, one of our problems at our driving range is that there's a small footprint for the range of regulation golf balls, which are used on a driving range. They exit the golf, over the nets, people get hit. One of the things that I learned just recently from Top Tracer Technology, and John Adams referred me to Ryan, who works with the company. I had a discussion with him actually today. And Arrowwood has implemented this technology, and it's been very popular and very busy, and they're making revenue. One of the things that, well, there's a couple things that this technology would do. One, it would satisfy some of our desire to create social space and get other people that aren't avid golfers to our clubhouse and enjoy what we have planned here. But the other thing is very practical. We have a limited footprint for whatever alternative we have for the range. If we were to implement this type of technology, what could happen is we could have range balls that are 75% restricted. However, the Top Tracer technology, when you hit a ball, you hit your 7-iron, let's say you hit it 150 yards. The ball doesn't go 150 yards, it goes 120 yards. But the technology tells you you hit it 150 yards. The other thing is that there can be virtual and actual boundaries set up in the system. So if a ball exits behind the fence, over the fence, the ball striker gets immediate notification that, hey, you just hit it over the fence. And the pro shop also gets that same notification, rather than somebody saying, hey, there's somebody hitting it over the fence and delaying it. I think it's something worth looking into, could solve some problems. From my understanding, putting a net up 80 feet like San Juan Hills is very expensive, and it may solve more problems and give us more benefits than we know of. So I'd recommend that we get a presentation by that company or another one that has something like that.
If I can also note that the intent is not to do all Top Tracer. There's going to still remain just a standard driving range bay for golfers who are not interested in it. I will say I recently, 2 weeks ago, toured Anaheim Hills facility, which is also a public course, and they recently added Top Tracer, and people are fighting over it. They're having to come in and stop people from intervening with people's practice rounds. So it's very popular. I think it's just new to our neck of the woods, if you will. But I think the idea of a demo or some kind of presentation might be helpful.
Forgive me, but I wasn't on the subcommittee that met with you guys, so I need a little clarification. If looking at your designs, I did read the designs and everything. We're looking at to implement those designs upwards of $30 million and closing the course optimally for a year and a half. How close am I to that?
Yeah, I would say on the budget side, that is the absolute high end at 30 million. That I think on our budget, I can pull that back up if we need to. I want to
It's
say
29.5, but I just rounded.
That's the highest then, yeah. And a lot of that's obviously including everything on that list. So I think there is a need to go through, whether the master plan details out kind of the blueprint, and there's another step to this about going through figuring out what the actual feasible budget is for improvements in the first stage and figuring out what to tackle first. that's where some of those priorities come in. I think there, after you start tracking that down, there's obviously some different ways you can implement those, but I think our biggest takeaway is that those 5 big priorities are the ones you should be budgeting for first. Adding on some additional, nice to have, some Ts, the green expansions, whatever is decided is kind of the priority after those top 5, and starting to figure out a budget that, fits with, the amount of revenue projections and the budget that you currently have to get some of that implemented.
Yeah, I would just also add to it, THK referenced a rollout of 3 to 5 years, I believe. So part of those estimates are also projecting cost increases, into the future. So that's one of the very difficult parts of doing any budgeting, as you probably know, on all of your other projects. So you add the prevailing wage, and you add the complications of some netting and a very technologically advanced irrigation system. We think that that's a pretty reasonable price based on the needs. It depends, of course, what Josh was just saying. He's absolutely correct. But we also are planning for the future so that, these are realistic budgets, knowing that we're not going to do those projects tomorrow.
Yeah, to me, it sounds like a hospital or an airport is going to be under construction forever.
Well, it all depends on what you mean by forever, because if you do it over time and you did it 1 hole a year, that would be 18 years. Or if you did it 3 holes at a time, that would be, 6 years. So I think 18 months is if you were to plan on splitting it up into 2 nines, you would have your course affected by construction over an 18-month period. If you did it all at once, you could probably get that condensed to 12 or 14 months. So if you did 18-hole closure, you typically plan on losing your golf course for 1 full year. The 18 months is when you start to phase it out.
Is there an option to do it hole by hole? So we just close 1 hole at a time?
We're not recommending that, but there are golf courses that do that.
I'd like to,
I would say that one of the keys that Josh had mentioned too is why we need to dive into more details on the irrigation system. And oftentimes you can't install an irrigation system hole by hole. You have to do the entire main line, and then, generally speaking, and I think we did a little bit of this research. So Josh, clarify if I'm saying this right or wrong here. But I thought, in working with your past superintendent, that doing it hole by hole was not feasible based on the irrigation system design, that we'd have to do it at least 9 at a time.
I'd like to bring up an experience I had maybe 6 months ago. Tustin Ranch. They redid their entire irrigation system, bunkers, 2 holes at a time. They did not reduce their rate much, if any, maybe a little bit. They managed to play and allowed players to play 18 holes. It was a lot of work. The starter, the marshals were engaged, and I was very impressed how they moved us around. We got in 18 holes, very little disruption. So I'd recommend that we take a real look at, can we do it 2 holes at a time? Do we need to do it at 18 holes at a time? Let's find out if it's actually possible. Because I've heard from other maintenance staff, secondhand, I'd have to admit, that they think it's possible to do it 2 holes at a time. So I don't know, but I think we should take a look at it, because that makes a big difference on the community and the golf play that we have here. Shutting it for 18 holes at a time, I don't think that's going to fly around here.
Andy, Josh, do you guys have any experience or knowledge on how it affects the timeline if you do 1 hole, 3 hole, 6 hole, 9 hole at a time? Right? Or how does that stretch the timeline out?
Well, the simple answer is it depends on what your final scope is, right? So if you're only doing bunkers and you don't have any cart paths, you're not touching the greens, that's an entirely different project than if you were doing all the tees, all the bunkers, all the greens, etc. So that's where Josh kept coming back to say we have to really refine where the city would like to take the budget, so that we can refine what you're going to get for the budget that you're going to allocate to the project. But it will take longer if you do not allow a contractor access to large portions of the course. And having done this multiple ways myself, first off, it all depends on whether or not the irrigation system allows you to do it 1 hole or 2 holes at a time. So that's a pretty easy yes or no answer. It's based on what an irrigation engineer will say. And so that's number one. Number two, it's going to take much longer if you don't do it all at one time. So that's why we recommend, at minimum, to try to focus on 9 holes at a time, where you can still have access to 9 holes of golf while the other 9 is shut down.
Could we discuss in the presentation, there's refurbishment of the greens. There's a number of different options in that. And to me, the best option for that was to refurbish them as they are. I mean, the course is designed to have small greens because there's not a lot of other difficulties in the course. That's one of the advantages. If you open up the greens more, then it makes it an easier course, which we aren't really looking to do. So if we were refurbishing the green, why I'm bringing it up now, because we're talking about what we will do in the renovation. If we refurbish the greens the size they are, then that's a limited amount of time and effort that they're doing on the green. So that's one thing that's not expanded into a bigger project.
When you say refurbish, are you referring to actually pulling up the surface and replacing the surface, keeping the contours and everything the same, or are you doing, because there's a lot of references in the design notes to expand, keeping the current surface and just expanding what's already there?
Well, my thought was, when I looked up what option 2 was, which was preserving the existing greens, and I'm not sure how much work they were doing under the greens with the grass, but they weren't expanding the greens. So if you look at the presentation, it's option 2 is the one that I was picking. I don't have the presentation here.
Yeah, the hole by hole design notes show, like, it says like preserve existing green surface, consider expanding for additional locations. So Andy, Josh, you guys could speak better to that, but I'm assuming you would pretty much keep what's there and then just add on a little extra on the sides in order to help bring more pin positions and bring spread out the foot traffic a little bit better.
So we're recommending to do some expansion, whether or not you rebuild the entire green surface itself, or just the edges. Your past superintendent and our agronomist both suggested that they are too small for the current level of play. They don't have enough pin locations, and if there was one thing that came out of that discussion with your superintendent, is he really, really wanted to change the greens that you had now because they are too steep and you don't have enough pin locations. So really there's a balance. I don't think this is necessarily about making it easier. It's making it, a higher level of maintenance for the amount of play that you have, and more interest, because with the expansion you're going to have pins that you've never been able to play to, and in some cases those might be more difficult than what you have now today. So we're recommending to, at minimum, expand that 1,500 square foot average per green. And one of our options is to not touch the current green, you would just expand out.
Yeah, I think that's the one you referred to, number 2. Yeah.
With that, I see the 20 to 30 year time frame for like green longevity. Like, do you have any like additional feedback on that, as far as like, does that, and like how does that end up being a problem? Are you able to gauge how our greens are doing? Because like, I guess like I went through and just did some like napkin math on this, and it, like, the second one feels like a little bit of a half measure, because if you expand the greens, don't update it, and then they die in 5 years, and then we have to go back and do option 1 or like rebuild, that's probably not in the course's best interest. So like, do you have any gauge on the health of the greens, and do you see examples of courses losing greens because they are 30, 40 years old?
Yeah, you absolutely will see golf courses lose their greens. I will say that your greens have been tested out. We pulled plugs out of the greens and did our testing. And so that's why we're comfortable knowing that we can expand on top of them, because the testing showed us that the greens were still inside their life cycle. But what I will say is that part of the reason for rebuilding a green is also to make the adjustments to the surfaces so that you're able to, even within your current green structure, that's pretty small and it's very steep. And so we would make some adjustments to those slopes. And you can't do that without taking all of the substructure out. So if you want to expand and you want to adjust the slopes inside the green, you can't just do little pieces on the outside and a little piece in the front, in the middle. You got to do the whole thing. So that's why, we keep coming back here that the city's got to give us direction on some budgets so that we can start to tailor what we think this whole project will cost and what's in your best interest. But I agree 100% with you that this is the time to do it if you're going to do it.
I guess, like with option one that was on there, which is kind of do it all, if you use that 20 to 30 year timeline compared to like other options, right, which is just expand the greens, it's $1 million more on the low end and it's 1.4 more on the high end. It's between 40 and 70 grand a year if you work within that time frame and you work over that 20 to 30 year margin. I know we obviously don't want to make the course easier, right? But I just, on that one, to me, it's 50 cents a round. The cost of it's 50 cents a round for 20 years, which like doesn't seem crazy if it keeps the greens in good shape and it makes the course better. So I don't think just expanding the green only to have to go back and do it in 5 or 10 years sounds like good stewardship of the golf course. So that's my only thought on that one. Like if we're gonna do anything, we should make sure we're not doing half measures and having to just do this again in 5, 10 years.
I agree with those statements.
Sorry, one question here on option 3 that you had about resurfacing. This is keeping the current contours, resurfacing the surfaces there. You talk about putting in a newer bent grass variety. Have we seen any issues with the bent grass surviving and making it through and beating the Poana that wants to just win over every time around here? I noticed even recently Torrey Pines North Course put in bent greens, I think. And if you go down there, the Poana is starting to take over, quite a bit. I wasn't sure if the new bent holds off better, or what have you seen on that front?
Every year seems to have a newer variety of bent grass, and it's not necessarily only bent grass, it's the Bermuda grasses, it's zoysia grasses, it's all kinds of different technologies. They're trying to get a turf that can withstand all of the pressure and still be green and perform properly. So less water, less inputs, all those things. So yes, there is a new bent grass out there that makes it way harder for POA to come back. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're not going to have any POA. I think to me, this is all about a golf course is a collective a being. It's a system, and all systems all work off of each other. And so if you add a new green, you want to make sure you're adding new drainage and new irrigation, etc. So, it's hard. What's been hard about this is that we know we needed to provide you options because you knew that you wanted to be able to determine what the right amount of money was. But those options tend to not always be collective. If you change one factor, it might change another recommendation. So resurfacing is an option because we have new bent grasses. But that's also contingent on all the other infrastructure that we're talking about. But I'm not a big fan of that option, but it is something that our agronomists recommended as being a possibility.
So knowing the city's budget, knowing the public's ability to not be on the course for an extended period of time, what option do you guys like the most, if you're willing to say? I'm curious.
I like the 9 to 9 option, and I think that gives you the most flexibility to keep the golf course open. Well, you can almost do it in three phases. One phase would be do the range and the clubhouse. Probably do that first. The second option, second phase, if you will, would be the front 9, and then or which I don't know if the irrigation system overlays perfectly front 9 and back 9, but the first 9 holes, and then phase 3 would be the second 9 holes to have the whole golf course completed. That way you have at least the driving range open throughout all the disruption for the rest of the golf course.
And from a greens perspective, what was your recommendation on that? Which of the 4 options that you have there?
I mean, our recommendation, and it fits in line with that renovation that's happening throughout the state of California right now, is to rebuild your greens and reset that life cycle so it matches with your irrigation system, it matches up with your bunkers. You have all the expanded areas, and you build them with a brand new substructure so that it resets the clock on its longevity.
Okay, thank you.
Andy, when you started on this project in '24, you asked us to give us some priorities, review priorities on what we needed the most, and everybody agreed it was the irrigation system to be replaced, and then the second was maintenance. And I see it's fallen down to 5th now, maintenance, so I'm assuming that we got what we needed or something in that department.
Well, no, don't take 5th as being it's on the list of the top priority. It probably should have been bullet pointed, not so much number. No, you did not get the equipment that you're looking for. We hope that all of those items are at minimum part of the approval to go forward.
Well, I mean, I think we can all agree that we want the irrigation done. So that can be sort of...
That's a has to be.
That's a has to be, so that's one item that we can say is we agree on, right?
We're running out of duct tape.
Can we talk about the bunker renovations? Because
Sure.
when I looked at the plan, there were so many changes to each of the holes that we did not ask for. And I don't see a lot of the need for many of those changes. And our original request, our top 5 was redo the present bunkers. Not recreate ones, not move them, not change them, not put them somewhere else. Just redo the ones we have. Is that something we don't agree to do? Is that we all want to change the course instead of just redoing the bunkers?
I think when Robert and I met with Andy and Josh and team, we did talk about the bunkers, some of them needing to be restored to change to the strategy that the course was originally played for. We also talked about getting rid of some of the bunkers that really aren't necessary because it takes maintenance, right? And if they're not really in play, what's the point? The golf ball has changed, everything's changed, so some repositioning of some of the bunkers probably works slightly in the advantage. I mean, I personally don't have any issue with a lot of the bunkers. That most of them are the same. I would say, you guys can tell me, it's about 75% of the bunkers are exactly the same, give or take. The rest of the bunkers that are, some are being removed that are unnecessary and just, again, makes more of a maintenance issue. Don't really come into play that much.
But when you say they don't come into play,
Yeah.
then is that for all handicappers or just...
Yes, because they're sort of out of the line of play. You know, there's certain ones that may not be necessary anymore. And they don't really get a lot of use. Nobody's hitting them in general. But the guys still have to go in there and rake them up, and there's a time to that. And it could be better if you want to keep the bunker count the same, and we need to add a couple of different ones just to help with redirecting tee shots, like on number 5, right? They put a centerline bunker to help keep people off to the right a little bit more. That's good. That keeps away from homes. But if you've added one there, then let's get rid of the one that's 130 yards short of the green on the left side there that doesn't really do much, right? And really only penalizes the players who don't need to be hitting it in the bunker more than those, most of the longer hitters who aren't past it anyways. So you guys feel free to jump in if I'm misspeaking, but I think that there is, that Robert and I and the team, there was some thought into the bunkers and why. I didn't know, like the one on the 9th in front of 9. That one in front of 9 is
Awful.
because that grass area in the front of 9, that hillside and what goes down there, that grass is terrible.
But let me tell you what happens with the higher handicappers on number 9, with me being one of them. I hit short, I'm down the hill. You put a bunker at the top of the hill, I'm going to hit into the bunker from down the hill. Then I'm going to try and hit out of the bunker, and I'm going to hit into the road, because you've taken the 2 bunkers out the back. It's just a terrible idea. Terrible. Yeah.
That's duly noted. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. The idea, I understand where the design idea was behind that, to stop balls rolling down, and that's really muddy. The grass doesn't grow there. People get down there and they hit like 5, seeing people hit 3, 4, 5 shots. They can't get it up.
And they'll hit it right into the bunker, the
Well, at
first
least
shot.
it won't roll back to their feet.
And it'll take another 10 minutes to go around the course on that hole.
And we can agree to disagree, but that's
The idea was also to speed up a little play. The ball stays up, you're closer to the green.
But now you have a more difficult shot.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that.
Oh, the bunkers make it easier, right? It's a bunker shot.
A good
easier.
bunker,
a well-placed bunker will help, yes.
yes.
But yes, but that's something to consider. I mean, again, we don't have to, that's...
But we went through every single hole and every single bunker in Cart Path Place, and we really did think it through. And if you go back over a year, there were many, many, many changes that have all been reined in, and we're much closer to our original golf course layout than we ever have been, with some modifications, and there's thought put into every single one of them. And it obviously won't satisfy everybody, but a lot of thought was put into it, I have to say.
Well, I know a lot of thought was put into it, but I'm not sure the thought was really thinking of the higher handicappers, because we are not very good. And that's what happens to us.
I can show you a perfect example of where that's not true. Respectfully. The 8th hole, that bunker on the right side, long, low handicappers hit over that bunker from the blue tees every time. It goes down the hill, they roll out. The shorter hitters they get stuck in that bunker all the time. I see it all the time on the 8th hole. You take that bunker on 8, and they've moved the bunker 30 to 40 yards farther down the fairway there on the right side. The shorter hitters, they don't have to worry about getting to that bunker anymore. It is not in their way, because that bunker is really hard to get to the green from, no matter how good you are, because it's really deep. Now you've got a bunker, though, that the long hitters have to take into consideration, and the lower handicappers have to take into consideration, because now they can get stuck in that bunker and have to go up the hill to the 8th hole. So it's been repositioned to penalize the people that should be penalized more than the others. And there's several examples of that in the design plan of how those sort of changes have been made to allow the higher handicappers a better chance. Because if they don't have to worry about getting to that bunker, and then they can still then hit a wood or whatever onto that green, they're in a much better position than someone who just doesn't even take into consideration and bombs it down.
But I think you're changing the design of the course, and I'm not sure that's our job to change the design of the course.
Well, one would argue...
our job is the course, remember, is for the residents of San Clemente.
Yeah.
It's not a championship course, it's a recreational course. And it was built for the people in San Clemente to enjoy playing golf on a recreational course. And we are, at the moment, looking at redesigning a very well-designed course, and I'm not sure why. The things that we need to do are irrigation, fixing the bunkers, fixing the tee boxes, things that help the condition of the course. This redesigning of the course that seems to have happened here with many of those, why should it be easier for the longer hitter? If the bunker's there, you have to maneuver the bunker. You have to avoid the bunker. That's why it's there. You're just moving it. So because it's easier to make it easier for the longer hitter.
No. You said the exact opposite.
For the longer.
It made it harder.
He made the buck. They fly on 8.
So having had these conversations multiple times, I completely respect, I don't know your name, the lady who's talking, but I completely hear what you're saying. I would just put a little bit of of a lens in, you've asked us to address the quality of the bunkers. You've asked us to address the equity of the course, not only in terms of bunker location, but also tee location. You've asked us to address the issues of safety along the roadways. You've asked us to address the history. Your community was very interested in the original architect, and we've shown you, we've proven that your current course does not match the historical course. So when you put all of these goals together, you've come up with a solution, and you've hired a nationally recognized design and financial team to give you our recommendation, and that's our result of our study. I don't think it's a redesign. It is a design based on the needs of your golf course, and I think we've matched those goals and needs perfectly. And so that's not going to be for everybody, and I think you understand that it's really hard to please everybody, but we have done everything we possibly can to please everyone, I think. So I don't like to use the word redesign, because we are actually addressing all of the goals of everything that you've hired us to do.
One of the things I think, Mandy, that proves this point as an example is there's a new tee box at 5,100 yards. So the ladies, the gold tees are, what, 5,400? Then there's the silvers that are 1,500 yards less than that. Nothing in between. That's not fair for ladies or the seniors, super seniors, whatever you call it. We thought it would be a good idea to bring something more reasonable for the 75 mile an hour swing speed. So that's been implemented. So to the point that it's been looked at for that category of golfer, I think that's been addressed through that for many of the holes. So 5,100 yards versus being stuck with 54, which is very long, versus 42 or whatever it is.
Well, I appreciate you putting that tee box in, but again, I don't think anybody asked for it. We played from the gold and the silver, and I only know one member who said, can we have another tee? So yes, it's a nice idea, but that's not what the customers of the course asked for.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem putting that in. I don't have a problem putting that in. But we're trying to serve the customers who are the golfers of this course, and that's what should be here. And our top 5 things were making sure the maintenance of the course was being kept, and we've sort of gone into a whole new area of different things. But I hear what you're all saying as to why, but again, the top 5 things are the top 5 things that we should be doing, and those other things are secondary.
If I may interject for the committee, I think if you don't have questions for the consulting team right now, I believe you have speaker cards. I would recommend we move to speaker cards and then come back and complete discussion and look for a recommendation from there.
This is the first one. If you want to pass these.
Okay.
And then these are the last 2.
Nope, I know that guy. Mr. Talt, do you want to take the stand?
I'm going to try and get through this quickly. I might just have 3 minutes if I'm a little bit short. Dick Miller's going to finish up for me. I am Rick Talt. I've been a men's club member for over 20 years now. I'm currently an amateur, but have played professionally throughout the U.S. and around the world. I've played in several national championships in the U.S. and worldwide. Additionally, I've run large municipal golf courses, so I have some degree of knowledge of what are science proposing in the golf operations at San Clemente. Most of what I'm going to say here is around the clubhouse, but in regards to the irrigation system, I understand that's something that has to be done. But my premise is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We have a golf course that's a wonderful golf course that's enjoyed by many. We have one of the most enjoyable public golf courses in Southern California. Many People have expressed that to me over the years, but we have, bar none, the worst putting green in all of Southern California for a public golf course with the amount of play that we get here. There is somewhat a simple fix here, not only to improve the practice putting green, but also to make some much needed improvements to our facilities compared to the massive overhaul and cost I'm hearing about in the proposal. I ask the question, in whose best interest is it to make these massive improvements? We have a very enjoyable golf course. Let's make changes that were needed. Let's not go overboard on revamping it. Revamping the putting green, I have done some very rough drawings I have sent to the members up there where the location doesn't need to be changed. I've heard of becoming a location for more dining. That is not in the best interest of the golfers. It needs to be enlarged in a manner that makes sense for the large number of players that we get daily. Currently, the green is only about 2,400 square feet of putting surface, but 25% of it is unusable due to the severe slope on the right side of the green. If there are more than 4 or 5 players on the green, there's no room to putt. In addition, there's only one hole to putt to. Therefore, I'm proposing the following. Level the green with very gentle sloping. Remove the planting area between the putting green and the sidewalk. Build a smooth texture retaining wall where it meets the sidewalk. Currently, there's a 3-car short-term parking area next to the putting green. I would propose to reduce it to 2-car short-term parking that would help create a large putting area for the hundreds of golfers daily that use our golf course rather than to serve maybe 5 or 6 people for that extra spot. The most likely to far exceed 5 or 10 minutes anyway. There's still long-term parking on the other side of the street. Therefore, with increasing the side of the putting green with a retaining wall to the sidewalk, then relocating part of the sidewalk outward to one side, change to a 2-car short-term parking, and decreasing the width of the fringe around the green to be closer to the retaining wall, we have doubled the usable putting green surface. We would then have a putting green that would increase traffic to the clubhouse where they're not playing a golf course. It would be good for our junior golfers, men's and women's club to have these activities where it's not really manageable with a small green we have now.
Judy.
So I can have Dick finish the rest of this, we'll just read it out.
If he fills out a card,
Pardon?
if he fills out a card, we gotta be legit here.
Okay.
That's okay, just go ahead and come forward, you can fill it out after, just to move the meeting on, yes. Thank you.
We're on the honor system, Dick.
Debbie will come after you.
You want me next?
Yes, Dick, finish it up. He's on point number 2, increasing dining area.
Okay, these are Tult's ideas, but I think it's right on it. An easy solution to creating more dining space is to expand the deck outside. Proposing to spend money in upkeep of the flower bed by the steps going up to the pro shop, or the section facing the driving range. There is a curb that extends around from the pro shop steps to the cart facility below. If the deck is increased to that curb and around the clock, it would add almost 1,000 square feet of deck for tables, chairs, and umbrellas for seating. If the current wedding company is not willing to create a venue to draw in locals for lunch and dinner and make it a destination spot to add to their wedding business, I am sure the city could find someone who would be willing to have the whole package. Driving range improvement. There are over 100 balls that is found in 1, 2, 3rd, and 6th fairway. As I'm sure the city is aware, that is a liability lawsuit waiting to happen, if it hasn't already, by injury to someone. The driving range fencing is inadequate. It's too low. San Juan Creek Golf Course has installed very high netting, 80 feet high. This should be done at San Clemente Golf Course. Our range is not very deep, approximately, and we can do this. 240 yards at the deepest part. There are a few ways to lengthen the range and increase the entire circumference. The range could easily go back 10 more yards and relocate the cart path just behind the existing green. Put the fence approximately 30 yards back just past the existing trees currently on the other side of the driving range fence. The current back part of the green would have to be removed so the cart path could be constructed. The front part of the green could be enlarged and there is room to increase depth of the tee box to keep the yardage approximately the same length to a hole. To help offset the cost of these improvements, which is also greatly decreasing any potential liability, I would also propose an 80-foot netting around the range to increase driving range income and income to the restaurant facility by constructing a second level to the driving range that is also accessible from the restaurant. I believe all these three can be implemented. It will greatly improve the golf course facility, increase revenues, reduce driving range liability at a much more reasonable cost by preserving the look and feel of our beloved golf course.
Anything to add on your own, Mr. Miller?
I think I'm done, but I'll let everybody know that we are both ASU graduates. So
Okay, we'll hold that against you. Thank you for your input. Charlie?
So as a golf course superintendent, the plans for like I won't say renovated golf course, but for a revamped golf course is like incredibly hopeful for the city. I think if you guys take a look at what West Palm Beach in Florida has done with the park, I think you'll see kind of what that can provide for the city. It's something that, as a resident of this city, there's just so much that can be done on this golf course that can make a huge impact for many more years. I think if we don't do like 1 9 at a time in terms of a maintenance standpoint, trying to take care of brand new greens while you're trying to maintain old greens, it's more difficult than you think. I'm not sure if a nursery green has been involved or included in this, but in terms of keeping POA out, I mean, one main way to do it is just plucking it out just manually, with just small ball marks. It's something that we've done at Shady Canyon Golf Club. I was an assistant there for 4.5 years. So there's ways to keep POA out. It's just, it's not easy, but it's one of those where it's doable. If you go, they redid their greens in 2012, and I mean, in 14 years, they're still POA free. That being said, there is no perfect bent grass that's going to never allow POA. It grows like wildfire here. So it's one of those where it's something that you just have to combat, and there's ways to combat it. But I think if you do it the right way, this golf course could, I mean, be an enjoyable asset for the community for many, many, many years. And I think right now it's kind of at the end of its lifespan. And I just think that not going full force and making a huge impact on this golf course is going to set this golf course back. So that's all I got.
Thank you for your input. Don, you're up.
Gentlemen and ladies of the jury. So I got 3 minutes, right? Okay, so really all this started when we were, looking for ways to use our own clubhouse for golf, right? And we had the weddings coming in, and golfers weren't allowed to really be in there, and we had to be out back. So I came up with a solution that THK probably couldn't see because the city of San Clemente has extra property. Right next to the 14 tee box is Waterman Field, which is about a 5-acre property back there where we could put a new clubhouse for the golfers. Right? We put a driving range up there where the gun range was. We can make the wedding part of it spectacular because we can take that building that we have right now and use it exclusively for weddings, and take the driving range that we have right now and use it for the ceremony by building a little amphitheater, maybe a gazebo or two out there, and we could get bang for the weddings. Instead of having people getting married in the parking lot, they'd be getting married in a nice garden setting with fountains and flowers and everything, right? So I think we ought to look at Waterman Field because it's antiquated. I was a manager out there a million years ago. They got all new kinds of ball fields out of Talega, but if we took that parcel and looked at it, we could make 14 number 1. We could take 13 out and make it a little mini goat, like a mini muni for the kids to play on, right? So they're not clogging up the real course. And then we could incorporate that that beautiful new hole that they're talking about on 15 going down the tee boxes. So I sent this over to Bobby, and I want to make it, part of the record. But I think we need to think outside the box here and make the weddings great, right? Make it a world-class wedding place, right? Make a beautiful clubhouse back there on Waterman Field. They can only play one ball game a day down there, or 2 ball games at a time down there. So I'm saying utilize the space that we have already. These guys don't know about Waterman Field. They're just looking at the golf course. But that is an underutilized asset. And if we repurposed it for a golfer's clubhouse and had a nice veranda out there, we'd have driving range out the back. You know, it's got views of the ocean. It's got views of the Penland property next door. I mean, it would be the solve because it would separate the weddings from the golfers, right? Isn't that the whole idea? And you can double up your revenue on that on the wedding chapel, right? Double it up. Spend $500,000 on the range or something, and put in an amphitheater. You know, doll it up. Do the same thing with the clubhouse back on Waterman Field, and make number 14 number 1. Best of all worlds, guys. I don't know about the greens. I don't know about the, I know we need irrigation. I know we need bunkers. I know we need tee boxes. I know we need maintenance facility. Those should be the top ones right there. But let's not put all of our money into the old building and build out $7 million worth of range there. Let's build a $7 million new clubhouse over on Waterman Field.
Thank you.
Can I get another 6 minutes?
No, that's a novel idea. I like it.
Anyways, I sent it over to Bobby. Bobby, can you share it with everybody?
It's, part of the record.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm going to go home.
Dick, you're not getting out of here tonight without a card.
Yes, sir.
All right. Samantha, you want to go back to discussion at hand?
Yeah, so from here, the committee can continue your discussions. Again, the objective this evening is to close the item at the committee level and pass it forward to the city council. You could look at some of the options that are mentioned in the Staples report. If you'd like to narrow that down as a committee, otherwise that would be left to the council to make a final determination. I do think it's the objective and goals of this committee is exactly what this type of work is. It's the future of the golf course. You've been selected by council to speak on behalf of golfers and on behalf of the golf course community. So I would recommend you narrow it down to an option, but if that's not the appetite, then you don't need to. But again, regardless, there will be forward moving to council. We do have to do environmental review limitedly based on this master plan. The intent and use of the golf course is still a golf course, so that's why I say it's limited. There are some certain things taken into consideration, including looking at a second story on a driving range. That's part of that CEQA analysis. But for the most part, we would look to determine most of these actions to be categorically exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act. Preliminarily, I need to do more research and a few more studies into that. That will be at the staff level. We will pass this forward to the council after that. So I'm happy to take questions if there are any, but I would look to you, Chair Daigle, to
I'm kind of relying on Ben and Robert, who attended the meetings, and so I'm relying on their input. How do you guys feel about it?
I just have one question too. Like, if we want to talk about 3 or 4 of the 5 items, that like, do we submit individual like motions to pass certain points onto the council? Do we have to do like the world's longest motion at the end of this if we want to include 3 things but exclude others? How do we proceed on that?
You could certainly go item by item. So if there's several areas you want to look at in different components, you should do separate motions and kind of run down the list, if you will. That's usually the easiest for the record, and those specific motions can be passed to the council as well. I think that's a really great idea.
So the mechanics of this is we can discuss this and say, for instance, I would like to discuss what motion I have in mind and then get some consensus here and then make the motion? Is that fair?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can put a motion out there, ask for a second, and then do discussion on that motion. And through the course of that discussion, there might be a substitute motion or a friendly amendment to that motion. Or you can kind of free flow some ideas and get feedback from your colleagues and then make the motion.
Okay. So, with the understanding that whatever we submit as a motion is going to go to city council, they're ultimately going to take a look at this and say, well, we might do this, we might do that, or not do anything. So we're making a recommendation, and we've had, and I have to say, gentlemen, that I'm really impressed with the whole process that we've gone through. I think you've really listened to us as a group, individually, and what you've come back with is, I'm impressed. I've read through every single one of your presentations since we started this, and again, I think you've really listened to us. What I would like to see the city council receive is the structure that was just Andy laid out when you asked, what would you recommend? And that includes the range, redoing the first 9, the second 9, and take a look at the options and the priority that they've been given to us. Ultimately, it's up to the city council to go through this. That's my
But are you saying that when you say the first 9 and the second 9, are you saying to do everything that's in this presentation? What are you saying to do in the first and,
So I think, based on, again, we go back to when we started this, there was a lot of information. It's been whittled down. We said, well, we don't like this, we do like that, we want more of this. And now they've come back with, okay, here you go. As an example, the final range alternative, I think, is well in line with what we've asked them to do. And there have been a lot of good recommendations, and I'm personally very pleased with them, and I'd like to see it go forward with them the way they've laid out. Again, city council is going to take a look at them and make their decision based on budget, when we can do them, how much can we do, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think personally, I'm good with the hole-by-hole analysis and the way that each hole has been laid out. There are very minimal design aspects. A lot of it is mowing. A lot of it is angling tee boxes slightly different. There are most bunkers are just refurbished where they are. Some bunkers are moved appropriately, in my opinion, to penalize the players that need to be penalized by bunkers, not to penalize the high handicappers, not to penalize the shorter hitters. So I think that they're all appropriate. There are some new bunkers that are being put in to help redirect things away from boundaries that we're trying to keep away, because risk, aversion is something we wanted to do, and the bunkers are a good way to help with that. I think it's removed bunkers that are not part of the course of play, are not part of the original plan, things like that. So from a hole-by-hole design perspective, and again, this is not a redesign, this is just a slight revamping. So I hate using the word redesign here because it doesn't strike me as a redesign. There's no holes being rerouted, there's nothing, no greens being moved, other than the second hole in order to accommodate the need for an additional range. So personally, I'm, from our subcommittee coming out of it, this aligns with what we asked for. And I think, Robert, you said the exact same thing.
At this point, I would like to know, what is our priority? Is it irrigation or the driving range? Which is coming first?
I think they go hand in hand to an extent because, as we've heard, the irrigation gets routed based on how the range is to an extent. But I think nobody would argue that irrigation isn't number one issue. I mean, we walk the course and we see them hold them together with duct tape and glue anyways. So I just think it's, as Andy and Josh have said, as the course irrigation work is done, that is your same time to do the bunker renovations, because you make sure that the lines are in the right spot and the sprinklers are in the right spots and everything. And then if you're, a driving range, I think would be a little bit lower on that list. It would be nice to have nice fancy range that, but at the same time, I think we all know that irrigation and whatever goes with that has got to be the highest priority.
So you're telling me we start with irrigation, 9 holes, is that right?
If we can, I mean, Andy said that maybe the irrigation doesn't allow you to only turn off 9 holes, and I don't know. It's above my pay grade.
Well, one of the proposals I saw was doing the north side of Magdalena and then the south side of Magdalena. I don't know how that would fit, but...
About 99 that way.
Well, is it? And are the irrigation pipes connected in that? I don't know.
You'd have to ask someone. That's where you need to bring in the consultants like Andy and Drew talked about, to review that.
So maybe our proposal, that what we suggest, our recommendation is to close as little as possible with the best value.
Whatever makes the most sense. Yeah. If you can do 3 holes at a time,
Right.
that works.
I mean,
Great.
we would like to be able to do that.
That's the ideal
possible,
world.
yes.
And I think people would be willing to put up with construction for an extra 4 or 5, even 6 months, just so that we don't have to close
Yes.
everything all at once. I think
Yes.
that would be more preferred, to elongate the timeline, but not at an expense that is, 50% more or something. That has to be taken into consideration as well.
Right.
Okay, I have a request from, to address the committee from one of our esteemed council members.
How are you?
Mr. Victor Cabral.
I did my 3 minutes, and now I know what it's like. Victor Cabral on the city council, former mayor. Just to try and give you an overview of what I think would help. We don't talk to everybody about what's happening. You've talked over the years to all the citizens, so you know better than any of us on the committee what their priorities are. And that's what I think I'm looking for. I'm also the golf course representative on the city golf committee, and the only one that golfs. So a lot of our members, when you say this is important, that's important, they're going to say, okay, well, we're going to listen to what this committee says. So to the extent that you could give us your best advice on what those priorities are, we also have other objectives. That is, we have to weigh it against the budget and what other priorities we have, because we have a lot of requests for money and we have a shortage of money. So anything, I think the course that you're on right now, what the public has been saying to you over these past few years, what's their number one priority? Is it the range or the water? And we may have a different decision, but based on staff recommendation, based on the recommendation of our professionals. But yours is probably more importantly because you're the voice of the residents in the community, and that's what I'm looking to you for, is what the golfers really want, rather than the experts are going to tell us what they want, but you're the voice of the golfers in the community, and so to the extent that you can communicate that and what you decide, that'd be the best advice for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Well, the general consensus of the public is it's not busted, don't fix it, but we have to fix the irrigation system. So we don't have a choice.
And we get a lot of complaints about the bunkers too.
Yeah, I think the irrigation system and the bunkers are the top two.
Yep.
And then, what do you think about the greens renovation and the tee renovations as two that need to be?
See, I feel like tee renovations, you get a lot of bang for your buck, right? I mean, it's just a slight re-angling. It's, they're not built and moved, tee boxes insignificant. The only thing they have done is, there's always been a complaint that the silver tees don't exist, right?
Right.
There's no nice. That is important for silver tee players to have that instead of just 2 tee markers in the middle of the fairway on the side of the hill.
Right.
So those new tee boxes that they built for that, I think, are very appropriate to be done. And if you're closing a hole, now's a great time to do all that real quick.
So then we're looking at irrigation, bunker renovation, tee renovations.
Yeah.
What about the greens renovation? Should that be one of the top 5?
I feel like we should submit a recommendation on that, right? Like one way or the other. Like the understanding is that there's a limited lifespan, right? There's a maintenance issue. So I think anything we stay quiet on is left up to maybe people that are a little more removed removed from the decision of the golf course.
Did
So.
you think, was there a specific option that you thought was the right option then?
I think-
Give us a few.
Yeah, I think the only ones I don't like are the ones that feel like a half measure, right? Like if we're gonna go in and we're gonna do a significant overhaul of our greens, I think taking steps so that we don't need to do this again for 20 years is that's the only right answer in my opinion on that front. Whether you expand the greens or not, I mean, I'm not against that. I get the need to add maintenance. I just played golf at one of the courses with like one of the largest average green sizes in the United States, and I still have a really hard time. So bigger greens doesn't mean that it's going to be easier. So like I don't know. I think on that front, anything that keeps our course in good shape for us and for future generations of golfer and keeps the course open for the public, I think that is something we should prioritize. So yeah.
Ben, could you pick one of the options then as one of that follows up? So that when we're putting this forward, we're saying specifically an option that is to the city council.
It's tough because you gotta take, but this could chew up a big chunk of budget. We know that there's very limited, and the irrigation takes up over 60% of the budget that we have in total. Based on if we're using the budget of the money that's been put aside. Doing any green renovation is going to take a bite into that. So, I mean, I don't know if that's something we have to do right now. And I mean, yes, it would be nice to have, absolutely. But I would put bunkers ahead of it, put irrigation ahead of it.
Yes.
Could we just leave the greens as is and address this in 10 years? Could do that. I don't know. I mean, part of me wonders if it's worth putting the money, if we have the money. Anyways, it might not, we might not have the money for it, so it might be a moot
Put
point.
it as option 5, for
It
example.
could be lower down the list, but
what would our top 5 options be? We've got 3. We've got irrigation, bunkers. Well, we've got 2, irrigation and bunkers. What's the third one that we would want to do? Because to me, the range thing, to me, we need the fencing for sure. The fencing we've been trying to get for the last 4 or 5 years because it's a liability.
There is an option, however, that we brought up that may mitigate the need for a much, much more expensive set of netting by using technology to bring that down. I don't have the answer for that, but I'm hearing that it can be used.
The limited flight golf
The
balls.
top, yeah, and it's not a luxury, it's, like I mentioned, it's a problem we have. People are hitting balls over the nets. There's a solution using technology that's not only a moneymaker, but it's also saves from having to make larger nets. I'm not saying we don't need more netting, but I don't know that we need 80 feet of net if we're not using ball that goes in regulation. So there's new ways of doing things, and the driving range is one of them. The greens are another one. Grady, you made a point about, hey, if we're going to do anything on the greens, let's do it right the first time. If we're not going to do anything, let's don't do anything for the greens, and do it right that later.
Yeah.
But that's a budget decision.
Yeah.
So what I would say, I want to go back to what's being proposed here. We've spent over a year saying, yeah, we like this, we don't like that. We've been presented with a very well laid out, here's what we recommend based on what you have told us. You meaning us, the committee. We've been listening to our friends, we've been listening to the community as a committee. We're thinking about future generations of golfers. I think this addresses them, and I'd like to say, let's make a motion to accept this and present it to the city council and let them take a look at this and ask, maybe yes, maybe not. They can decide whether or not there's a budget for it or not. But these are very well laid out professional opinions on what we've given them feedback for.
Well, can you read out the top 5 things on their recommendation?
What's your proposal, Robert? So,
okay,
for the daylight savings time set.
Okay, so the I don't have it right in front of me, it was on the screen. Andy, do you have that? It was on the, or Josh, it was on the very beginning. There were two sides. There was a priorities and then secondary priorities.
Yeah, give me just a sec, I'll flip to that slide.
Thank you. I mean, I think if we try to piecemeal and say, well, let's do this and let's propose that, we're missing out the totality of this, because if we're redoing irrigation and not doing greens, I don't know how that affects things. I'm not an expert, but I heard a comment from Andy that this is, you affect one thing, it affects another thing.
Well, I mean, if you're going to expand greens,
Here we go right here.
position irrigation.
So, I would propose we take this master plan priorities and we have the irrigation system, the bunkers, then we have social spaces, range and practice facilities and maintenance equipment. And I would say take this whole page and submit it as the recommendation to the city council and let them review this, look at the budget, and then we're going to know where we stand.
I think if you send them something with 1 through 5, they're going to use that literally 1 through 5.
Yeah,
So
and
I think
we want maintenance as number 2.
If I
It's
can.
maintenance equipment.
Maintenance equipment.
Yeah, if I can interject, so you could have a motion that recommends approval to the city council of the master plan as presented this evening, with a consideration of also approving the master plan priorities also as presented, but ensuring that the irrigation system and the bunkers are at the top of that list, and everything else can fit within the broader financial discussion.
Thank you.
Does that work? Because what I'm hearing is those are the very, very top 2. Everything else we can work within. Those are the top 2. And that's the message you want to send to council.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Can you vote that in the form of a motion? or we
Yes. Help me out.
Ditto.
Robert, sorry. Can we, one thing I did want to chat about real quick too is like just safety concerns and inner shots. It feels like that is something that could be reasonably addressed without full green overhauls, right? It's moving a couple bunkers, it's moving a couple tee shots. I know houses, like the golf course, predates a lot of the houses and the people around there, but I do feel like it's worth calling out that addressing reasonable safety concerns should go into a motion, especially if it's not a high financial cost. I don't want to be here in a year and have another citizen come up and tell the story about their kid getting hit by a golf ball.
Would it be reasonable to bring as far as the errant ball safety issue, bring in the driving range part of that too into this?
Yes, okay, so just for the purpose of talking through your motion, you have everything we just said. Committee member Ella is making a friendly amendment to that motion that would also include prioritizing mitigation of errant balls, which is on your secondary priority list, when feasible, expeditiously. So as quickly as possible. So that whole 6 conversation that came up, if we can do something tomorrow, let's do it. I think that's also a fair amendment. Is that what you're kind of leaning towards? Might not happen, we can't do everything all at once, but if we can do things sooner, prioritize that.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, here we go. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the master plan priorities as has been presented to us, with the irrigation system and the bunkers as the top priorities, with a focus on mitigation of errant shots through the golf course and the driving range expeditiously.
I'll second that motion.
There you go,
You have a
okay.
second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Where we got more?
Scorecard review, oh boy, I saw that, that looks pretty cool.
everybody get a chance to look at the scorecard?
So I think Debbie's going to bring it up on the screen. This is a returning item to you all. Again, this is in consideration of adding the combo teas piece to the scorecard. A couple of notes on this, and I think you asked for a return of this attachment. So this is kind of more a mock-up of what you might see, and this is in your packet. We'll get it on the screen for you as well. So you can see visually how that would be laid out. On the staff end, I also want to note that we would be making modifications to that rules portion. There's just a few minor kind of updates, and that's listed in the staff report as well. But I do also want to note that over time, our scorecard, and I have this stack of scorecards from all kinds of years, it's changed in size. So one of the things staff is also recommending is to go back down to this size, which is it's 11 inches. That's going to save us on some printing costs. We're spending a lot of money on printing our scorecards. So what we currently have is not a standard paper size, and therefore it's a much more expensive print job. And I also learned that correct me if I'm wrong here, Robert, I might butcher this, the PGA's new requirement is 11 inches.
For preferred lies.
Thank you.
It's 11 inches, which is the scorecard.
The scorecard. So we would reduce the scorecard to 11 inches. It takes it down, well, this is 11 inches. This is our current scorecard, so it's about an inch less. You can see that. You can see everything still fits. This is legible. The font is completely, you print it out and you can still see it. So that would be the other piece of this. So when we print new scorecards, you might see a slightly smaller change, but there's some reasoning behind that, even from the golf play itself.
What's on the front?
It will be similar. I did not put it together because, as it turns out, our current card is copyrighted by this golf scorecard company, so I didn't want to do too many modifications. We would leave the USGA rules section mostly the same in layout. The one note I would like to say is I would like to ensure it says St. Committee Municipal Golf Course somewhere. It actually doesn't say that on our card. We have the wonderful crest, and it says Pride of the Pacific, but we don't call ourselves our name. So I'd like to add that almost to this open sky area, just as a design pattern. So if you have a recommendation on a different photo, happy to entertain that as well, but that's kind of where we're at with the other side of it.
You could make Catalina pop a little more in the back.
Okay, for you I will do that, no problem.
That sounds good, having the uni on the scorecard. What do you need from us on that? Just a month?
Yeah, a motion and a second to approve the recommended changes, including the addition of the combo teas.
Like it?
Yeah.
Fine. Okay.
I'll motion to approve the card and change size.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried.
Next.
New business.
You have none.
Huh?
Do you want more items? I don't think you do.
Not
That's it for tonight?
No, but okay, we got our quarterly reports. Any questions on that? What are we doing about Santa? Looked at it and, second quarter 26.
Looks like a
We're-
very good core.
We're tracking to break the all-time record
Yeah.
of rounds.
So there is an all-time record, and it's about 120,000 rounds, and it's in the 80s, so.
Okay. Maybe in the last 5 years then.
Yeah, we spent a lot more than. All right. Anything from staff?
I just have a couple of updates. First and foremost, I want to come back to the committee with an update regarding the pro shop operations. Many of you attended and had the opportunity to come and contribute to that conversation. I'm incredibly grateful for the open conversation that occurred with that. The city council gave direction to go out to RFP for the operations, similar to the committee's recommendation. Part of that RFP process will include the development of a task force that will include yours truly, Chair Daigle, as well as Victor Cabral, who is our golf course committee liaison, and I should say Rick was selected as the chairperson for the golf committee. It'll be the city manager and myself as well, and we will develop that RFP as a task force based on the all of different priorities and the items that need to be included going forward. So that should be released, I'm hoping, in the next 30 to 45 days, and we'll look forward to that process as well, and that will be an open process also. I want to give an update quickly on resident cards. Our new fees are in effect since the last time we met. It hasn't slowed our rounds down. I do want to note that with the significant increase in the non-member rate, we have seen an increase in membership cards being purchased. So again, as we talk about it being challenging to get tee times, just remember that we have a lot of resident card holders as well. So we're going to continue to see some struggle with that. But I think that's a really good thing. It shows need for the course, and our residents are using the course. That's an incredible accomplishment for our community. On top of that, I want to give some friendly reminders to our golfers as they visit the pro shop. To prove residency, you need a utility bill. It needs to be a current utility bill, and it could be any utility bill for your residence in San Clemente. And that needs to be coupled with a valid photo ID. Your photo ID does not have to have the same address as your utility bill. That photo ID is just to ensure that you're who you say you are, and the names match. That's really what it is. So we're asking for that to continue to be complied with, and also be reminded that you are supposed to bring a valid photo ID with you every time you go into the club in order to golf. I know it's not frequently asked for, but it could come up that somebody might ask for your driver's license to ensure you're the person, you're the actual resident card holder golfing. So keep that in mind. I know the pro shop knows, I think everybody in this room, which is great. But bear in mind and go easy on our pro shop staff. They're trying to enforce that, and I know it's challenging. Those can be confrontational situations. So those are just some PSA reminders. And there was one other thing, and I lost it, but I think that's, our superintendent recruitment, our golf manager recruitment is ongoing. We are starting to see quite a bit of applications, which is great news. That closes in a couple of weeks, so we're hoping to work with Human Resources to get interviews going and bring somebody on board ahead of our summer season as well. And Randy, do you have any updates for us?
No, I do not.
This is Randy Little, our maintenance manager. And Jim Federley is remaining on an hourly basis to help our crew on the grounds keep things going. So, as always, we appreciate your guys' service to the golf course, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight.
All right, thank you. Comments from committee members? Well, I'll lead off and say I think we have a terrific staff in the pro shop, and they take care of everybody, all their needs. I think they do a tremendous job for the public. I just couldn't be happier with them. Ready?
I second that.
That wasn't a motion.
I third that. Sam, was there, or am I able to ask you a question from previous meeting?
Yes.
We talked about working on like kind of like a token system with Fora to see if you get like a preferred tee time or two a year as a citizen. Has there been any progress on that?
Yes, I have been looking at that. It's the preferred tee time is not super easy to set up in FORP. It's possible, but it does take a level of administrative oversight on the backside, including potentially a separate spreadsheet. Is that what the preferred times that we're talking about?
Yeah. You said there was like two, like you get like two per year.
Yes, that did take effect. I think we need to work a little closely with Vinny and Dave on the implementation of that, but it is in effect technically now. The other piece we talked about was the multi-factor authentication. I know that came up. I have confirmed, this is probably not the same question, but similar. I did confirm it is an email that they need. It's not a text message. So some people might I don't know, they might steer away, but that MFA is really the only other way to prevent the usage of bots and any kind of other activity or somebody going into multiple accounts at one time. We haven't done anything. I do want to also note though, I meant to give this in my staff communications for the minutes. This is communications. This was the item. The city recently took action and is pursuing some cease and desist letters with some of these companies that we believe are contributing to some of the resale of our tea times. So we are pursuing that to that same effect. We will be modifying our municipal code to make it enforceable by law, to include some administrative citations, and it will further bolster our ability to go after these companies that are doing exactly that. So that code amendment will be going to the city council at the beginning of March. And I've worked with the city's litigator and the city attorney's office to make sure that is ironclad and enforceable as well. So I think that's a really good step forward. And we can look further into the MFA option also, coupled with that.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, any news on the bench program and that you were talking, we picked benches for, is that up and active?
It is, yeah, we do have that. That's being managed underneath the administrative department and my group, that's actually Debbie. We have a number of benches available. We have a couple folks that are interested in that. And we'll start advertising that also in the next.
But no purchases yet? I was just curious.
Not quite. We do have some applications though, and, yeah.
I have one more thing. Randy, I was down on the range, well, on the first hole. Down at the end of the range, there's two huge holes, I think, that are punched through from the eucalyptus tree. Can you get Jeff to take a look at those, or somebody on?
I'll take care of it. I'll
Okay.
get the holes repaired.
Okay.
Not a problem.
It's like a fisherman or something going through the net trying to sew it together. Anything else?
I have my one pet peeve, I'm sorry.
Let's hear your pet peeve.
My pet peeve is when I walk up to the driving range, I'm tripping over golf clubs that people are laying down there because there's nowhere to put the golf clubs. And for $115 each, times 13, we could have nice wooden, very simple club stands at each hitting bait. So
Robert, were we going to ask the men's club if they would?
Yeah, that-
relate?
I've asked the men's club.
Project for the men's club.
And maybe I could ask the ladies
Yeah,
club.
we have no money, don't ask.
They have no money. But anyway, wherever that would come from, I think it would be a really nice amenity to add to our driving range. So that's it, and I want to reiterate what Rick said about the pro shop. Every meeting I've been to, the city council meetings, there's such an overwhelming support for our current pro shop staff and how you guys treat us and our community and family and friends. Thank you so much.
All right. Entertaining a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Got a second?
Adjourn.
Yeah, we're out of here. Drive home safe.
They printed it for me.